administration is a very, very crucial part of making operations and maintenance work. It's a support duties that you do, but until and unless your administration is efficient, neither the maintenance nor the operations can actually take place efficiently. So it is absolutely essential that your administration is done in a very, very efficient manner on everyday basis. And this is where all administrative branch officers come into play. There are, if you come to duties, anything and everything other than maintaining a system and flying an aircraft falls in the gamut of the administration. You start from the security to personnel management to accommodation to work services, welfare. I mean, you name a thing, and in a station, everybody from the school, medical, whatever you need for a station to run is looked after by the administration. During my days as a commandant at Air Force Administrative College, this often I used to refer to ADAM branch officers that your branch remains ADAM first and FC and ATC later. And why I say that, until and unless your administration is good, you can't really, proudly say that I belong to this branch. So therefore, while continuing with your ATC and FC duties, also in the early part of your career, you still have to continue grooming yourself as an administrative officer. And what do you do to groom yourself as an administrative officer? You need to be very thorough about all procedures, all processes, whether it is policy matters related to accommodation, to security, to law, to medical, whatever, the welfare. So you have to be constantly keeping abreast so that tomorrow when this opportunity comes your way, then you should be able to do it. You can't do it just immediately you switch over to administration and then you start doing it. You can't. So until and unless you are constantly evolving your own thought process and constantly keeping abreast with all the administrative procedures and policies, you can't do it. So luckily for me, again, when I was, I moved to actual administrative duty almost after 22 years of my career in fighter controlling. But the part was that in all these years, whenever I was, whether I was COTRU or I was an instructor in EW range or wherever I have been, I made sure that I did duties which are related to the pure administrative duties, and I happily took it because I knew that one day all this is going to help me in my furtherance of the duty. In fact, when I was instructor at EW range, I did almost all the duties of that base, from security officer to CIO to adjutant to works officer, whatever came my way, and that actually helped me at later stage when I actually went into a full-fledged administration. Similarly, when I was a COTRU, as luck would have it, the chief administrative officer that time had to move out for, he wanted to leave. He went for pre-release course and likewise. So I landed up with this chief administrative officer's task as a squad leader of a very, very major base for about close to about 5 months. And while I was not very happy about the situation that time, but the fact was that that gave me a tremendous confidence of handling all administrative issues at later stage. And the administrative challenges are far too many because nothing is certain. Nothing can be said. There's no straight-jacketed answer to any of the crises that you face as an administrative officer. From the managing the messes to hospitals to security to welfare. Whole lot of things are there, and it will keep throwing new and new challenges on an everyday basis.
So, what would be, if we to define or rather, talk about the administrative duties broadly, what would these include?
Okay, I'll just for the sake of easier understanding, I'll say the administrative duties can be defined in 3 major categories. You have the first category is the security, legal, and discipline. Where because being in a military life, you have to make sure that your troops are disciplined. your people are disciplined, everything is done in a absolutely correct judicial legal manner. And then the security is that make sure that every single asset, which are very, very crucial and very, very costly equipment that every airbase houses. So security becomes a very, very critical issue. You have highly specialized, trained security personnel, as well as commandos, those people who know by Garud. Garud generally, offensive role, but they also do some sort of defensive this thing also at the bases. So the security, legal, and discipline is one component. Then the second component is of the general administration, which is about the policies, about the everyday basis functioning of this thing, about the welfare, and likewise, and the procedures, personnel management. So general administration, so to say. And third component, which is most important of this, where maximum challenges are faced, are the infrastructure development. This is a highly specialized task in case of Air Force, because everything that we construct are very, very specialized. And in fact, our procedures are also very different from the other two services in terms of the complication that we face in making, whether it is a runway, it's a highly, highly specialized work, or it is the various kind of specialized workshops, hangars, maintenance hangars, and the facilities that are created for the aircraft. All these make for part of the infrastructure development, which also includes domestic accommodation and the accommodation, OTM accommodation, we call it, other than married accommodation. So this is third component, which is very, very crucial and critical. So these are the three different components in which the ADAM works at each level. At air base level, also these will be three components which will be looked after by the administrative branch officers. Similarly, at command level and at a highest level also. So this is the general demarcation that we have about various duties.
Right. So, these days, a lot of engineers are getting into, non-technical roles as well. Basically, the number of engineering graduates are far too many, and they are also looking for opportunities in streams other than pure technical streams. So do you think, for those guys, with there are people with civil engineering degrees and things like that, would that be something, which can be beneficial later on, say things
yes.
like work services and all?
In one of the fighter controllers course, I happened to go as a chief guest for their passing out. And when I asked them, to my utter surprise, there was not even a single person who was not an engineer.
Oh.
And it was really surprising for me because our requirement is the pure graduates, and we have not specified control, the engineering as the QR. Yet every single, if I remember correctly, there were 18 of them, and all 18 were engineers. And very large number of engineering graduates today come in.
Yes.
Or fighter controlling specifically, and also to an extent ATC, purely the engineering bent of mind would certainly help. Because you study radars, you study weapons, you study the avionics, you study the complete flight parameters, everything. So your understanding becomes that much easier. Not that the other graduates can't do, they will do. But for the engineers with a little background, probably they would catch up with things a little earlier than otherwise. I have seen most of the non-engineer, non-science guys doing extremely well in fighter controlling. So saying that besides, but it would positively help. As far as the pure administration is concerned, I think civil engineering forms a very important part. Like I've said, infrastructure development, the work services, this is a very critical component of the
specialized jobs. Yes.
Highly specialized.
I remember
it would certainly help.
Yeah, I remember one of our juniors with us as a fighter controller. He was a civil engineer, And after about maybe 15 odd years in controlling, or 12 to 15 years of controlling, he got into the work services, and then he was with the Air Force Naval Housing Board, and I think he was quite an asset, to that extent. But it's a very interesting stats that you are giving, that almost everybody in the flight controllers course, and the same may be true for the ATC as well, right? They are from the engineering background. So that much for the viewers. Yes, the engineers have a lot of success rate, I would say, as far as getting into the
almost
ground duties.
every course you have a very large number of engineering graduates that do come.
Right. So, Marshal, RANA, if before we move further, if I could just also ask you about your hobbies, your interests. I understand you are a very keen sportsman, right? And also you have some other hobbies. If you could just discuss, let us know a little bit about that, because you also happen to be the president of the Services Sports Control Board, and with your background, with your sportsman background, I would say, what is it that you would like to share?
One, I would tell the aspirants that I think this is the only organization, the services, that provides you an opportunity to actually further your hobbies, particularly like if you have been a sportsman, then this does provide you, and it's part of your everyday routine, because keeping healthy is absolutely essential for any combatant. And therefore the sports and the games and the PT forms a regular part. It's a requirement. It is not just the enjoyment. It's a requirement. And similarly on the adventurer side also, like I've been keen mountaineer as well. I've been into sports, and I found that just to keep things. Last competitive match I played as AOA at the age of almost 60 years.
Oh.
So nowhere else you will get this opportunity to be able to, one, to keep yourself fit. Secondly, the opportunity is coming your way as a part of the routine to be able to, whether you're getting into any sports or into any of the adventure activities, or for that matter, whatever your hobbies may be. So you get sufficient time to nurture your hobbies. And this is one thing I think people must know. And it is not that here we don't do it just for the sake of the enjoyment. Everything has an objective set in. Like the adventure is one of the major component that is their adventure and sports. And in my duration as AOA and also the Services Sports Control Board, I made sure that each of these adventure activities have an objective set in. That means when I say objective set in, that means you do a adventure activity with the intention of where are you going to make use of this in future. The typical example that I would give you, that there was one aircraft lost in one AN-32 crash in East. And nobody could actually go there. It was very, very difficult terrain. Nobody could go neither by air or by ground. It was inhospitable terrain. So we made a team out of all these trained mountaineers, and we dropped them from a helicopter to some of the areas wherever we could. And they took almost 1 month of trekking in that area to finally be able to trace the wreckage, and then trace the bodies and get whatever then thereafter recoveries that we had to do. So there was a set. So similarly, there was another example that I would give. We did last year on 8th October, we did the highest para jump at Khardungla Pass, which is a world record, and it's already been recorded in the para drop or para jump at Khardungla Pass, which happened to be the highest landing, and it's now part of the Limca Book of World Record. So when we were going about this, and we did this on an 8th October day, so when we did this activity, I had categorically stated that this activity is going to be introduced for high altitude free fall training for the R Garud commandos. So there was an objective set. It was not just purely for the adventure or purely for enjoyment. It was with the purpose that when we achieve these things, there is certain objective behind it, and we must make use of these adventure activities for furtherance of our objectives, of our Air Force objectives. So similarly, another example I can give you is our officers and men had participated in Namami Gange Abhiyan, where I think from Devrayag to Ganga Sagar, they had gone for over a period of 1 month, basically an awareness campaign. All these people, one of the leader of that is actually a Tenzing Norgay award winner. So they were part of furtherance of this government initiative of Namami Gange. And all these point I'm trying to say that whether it is sports, adventure, or any of these things have got a set objectives. It is not merely just for fulfillment of your enjoyment or adventurous this thing, but there's a lot that is part of our objective set in for these activities.
I think that's been very, very informative, I must say. I mean, there are things which even I was not aware of, I mean, being in service, perhaps some of the things, like you said, certain objectives, etc., which is, I think, important for the aspirants to know, because there is a perception sometimes, okay, you just enjoying, those adventure activities, etc., just for enjoyment. It's not so. And I think that you have made it amply clear.
One more example I would want to give is we introduced adventure course just about last year, and we had said that this adventure course will have all the objectives of first responders. That means you will be trained in the life-saving activities while you do your adventure this thing, but you would also be trained all your medical, paramedical assistance and life-saving assistance, and we will have the certificate issued to all these people as a first responder. We'll call it a first responder course, and should there be any requirement at any given time, which we keep facing, whether at a base level or any other thing. So these are the people who will be readily available to you to provide that assistance. And should Air Force require at a short notice such team of the people, so we have a database available, we can quickly get hold of these people and launch them as a team.
So, we have been seeing the role of administration in day-to-day functioning of the stations and the Air Force in general. Now, when it comes to the thick of operations, right? Recently, we had the standoff with the PLA in the Eastern Ladakh. So what do you think has been the role of the administration or the administrative branch in supporting the operations?
This is a very relevant question, because people must know that what are the kind of challenges that we faced. We, as an Air Force as a whole, and administrative branch in particular, in providing the support in those areas. One is, like I've said, the fighter controllers, those who are part of the operations in any case were deployed much at a inhospitable terrain, so to say. The radars were taken, all those equipments, which generally people is aware in the open domain. But what is not available is the kind of inhospitable terrain in which we operated was very, very challenging. The times, because it was peak of COVID as well, other activities also happening simultaneously, this activation happening, and this activation, like those who follow the news would know that it was a prompt response of the Air Force, taking every asset in that area, which actually probably put the PLA on the back foot. And this was done in a very, very short time, despite COVID at its peak. We had to make accommodation, prefab accommodation possible in a shortest possible time. We took it and made it operational in all those forward areas, which otherwise were inhospitable terrain. Other administrative requirements of the forward bases where our assets were deployed, again, was a very, very challenging task in terms of medical, in terms of accommodation, in terms of day-to-day activities, in terms of day-to-day support for all the personnel of the equipment, creating accommodation in that area. It was unthinkable. And I think Air Force has done a marvelous job in that, which I think was accepted by the government as well. That the kind of response that we got, the kind of short time in which we responded actually was, it took the other side by surprise. And I think that held us in good stead. So it was a very important role that was played. Very challenging, I must say. I mean, I think challenges is the understatement.
Yes. So talking of the challenges, I think one of the biggest challenges the world has faced has been the COVID. And I'm sure you would have been at the helm of affairs when the COVID was at its peak, and how the Air Force coped with it. You've also been the task force commander for tackling the COVID challenges. Anything on that?
Yeah, I think this is the single biggest achievement personally for me, and we can take that pride for the Air Force also, that we handled this crisis very well, and as a nation as well. But talking in personal capacity, I think I took over the DZ administration on 1st Jan 2021, and from 2020. And from that time onwards, the COVID had just about struck us in November, the 2-3 months back, but it had started coming up. And 16 Jan was the first advisory that I had drafted, that what is to be done, how to be done, how to avoid. And then we kept on getting into one trouble after the other. We had a lot of people who were stuck on leave all across the thing. So getting them back was a big challenge. Procedurally, how to sort out their leave, how to have them safely recovered. There were people who are stuck, who are going en route on posting, stuck there. And I mean, the challenges were phenomenal. Then there were medical challenges. We had to, in a very short time, we had to set up the isolation quarantine facilities for the evacuees from abroad. So on everyday basis, the challenges were thrown in. And none of these challenges that we had prepared for, on every day, the challenge would come with a new face, and we had to find answers. So it actually became a very complicated issue. And as luck would have it, I think in the entire 2 years that I was at the helm, initially as DZ Adam and then as a AOA, but I think what we did was, and what we achieved was phenomenal, from the medical fraternity, from the station, from the non-technical support, from the technical support. And particularly during the second wave, when people were literally, the death rates of climbing, the challenges were phenomenal. Our hospitals were full. We multiplied the capacities of our hospitals. The hospitals which were with a bed capacity of 40, we raised them to 200. And now those who are in the medical profession would know that what does it amount to when you start from 40 bed facility and then make it 200 bed facility. And this was the state everywhere. Then we had to set up the big isolation and quarantine centers. Then all other facilities also to be provided. So the challenges were very complicated, and we had to find answer to this. Then particularly during second wave, the oxygen supplies became a big issue, and that was the time I was entrusted with this task of task force commander for coordinating basically all medical issues, all medical supplies, but primarily was the oxygen had become very critical issue. And so we went about the task. We would meet every day, twice, all important functionaries, and then we would chart out for the day. Then on every hourly basis, we would take the update. And so we procured the medical equipments, oxygen generation plants, oxygen concentrators, and all other facilities in a very short time, which otherwise would have taken 2-3 years. And in a matter of months, we had already established the generation plants, and we were ready to fight. We did pretty well in terms of the oxygen in all our hospitals at that time, and obviously upgraded all the facilities that were there. Today, I'm so happy that all of our, at bases, our SMCs, our hospitals, and everywhere the kind of equipment and this thing are there. We are just ready to take on any challenges that are there, which in the first phase we were really struggling, but second phase we consolidated, and by the time the third wave had hit us, we were very comfortable in terms of all medical facilities.
Now, I'm sure this has been probably a singular most important challenge that the entire nation has faced, and the armed forces, to their credit, I think they've done marvelously well in fighting it. Maybe I won't say day to day, maybe hour by hour,
Absolutely.
And everywhere.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Marshal RANA. Before we call it off, one advice, some advice you'd like to give to the defense aspirants who are joining, who are wanting to join the Air Force in general, and specifically as a fighter controller or as an Adam officer.
One, of course, I must tell them, having seen the complete spectrum of the fighter controlling operations and also of the ADAM in various capacities, this is one branch you would really enjoy. And why I said that you would enjoy is primarily because this is the only branch which gives you probably the complete exposure of operations and administration at in a different time frame, but also simultaneously on everyday basis, as well as the thing. One is that as a fighter controller, you are aware about the complete spectrum of air operations, and I can say it with conviction that no other stream is actually exposed to operations as much as fighter controllers are, which generally is not known to the outside world. And so that is one. And secondly, like I said earlier, which is true to all streams, of course, that here when you come, you get an opportunity to nurture your hobbies simultaneously while you're growing in your profession, and nobody would point a finger at you when you are playing or going for your, say, expeditions in various capacities. So it does provide you tremendous opportunities to grow as an individual, to be able to see, because I find it today the most of our youngsters, particularly those who are in the corporate sectors, they find it very difficult to find time for themselves, which is not the case in this. While you work hard, I mean, it's not that you work hard, you train hard, you study hard, but still you have a lot of time to do things that you would want to do. You get to see the entire country, having been posted to all over, right from east to south to north. And even if you are not posted, there are enough opportunities for you to go on, we call temporary duties. And even if that is not there, you can go on your own, because you have your bases all over the countryside. So overall, it gives you a very healthy balance of the work and enjoyment and the challenges and the adventure at the same time. So I think this is a very good option that the aspirants should have.
So thank you very much, Marshal RANA. I think it has been a complete pleasure, learning and talking to you on various facets of the administrative functions of the Air Force, fighter controllers in particular. And I'm sure the viewers are definitely going to be much informed, right? And they can take those informed decisions whenever they join the Air Force as say Adam officers or ground duties officers. So once again, thank you very much for this lovely interaction, and we've had a long talk. And hopefully we shall again, meet and deliberate on certain things, specific to the fighter controlling branch. Let us say AWACS, IACC. Looking forward to interaction in future as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure has been mine. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.